For this particular session, this will be recorded for later reproduction. I repeat, the Q&A session will be at the end of the session. So hello everyone and welcome to Born or Made Entrepreneur webinar, Tips to Discover Your Potential. My name is Ali Henry Garcia and I will be your host today. So let's get started. Our actual world is full of uncertainties and opportunities. What is entrepreneurship role in this context? Can anyone be an entrepreneur? Is it a natural ability or a developed skill through learning and practice? In this webinar, Mr. Amr Shaker will help you leveraging entrepreneurship opportunities in your life journey. Amr is an inspirational coach, both life and business coaching, with 30 years cross-cultures international experience and deep understanding of human nature. He offers self-transformation coaching to people looking for tools and support to unleash their full potential. His priority is to help others realizing their dreams while improving their life quality. He holds an executive MBA from the French University HEC. Without further introduction, I leave the floor to Mr. Amr Shaker. Amr.
Thank you, Ali. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here with us. And thank you, Ali, for this introduction. I am delighted to be with you, and I'm delighted to see, as mentioned by Ali, people coming from all over the world. You are honoring me through your presence and participation in this webinar. So the title is Born or Made Entrepreneur. And as you can see here, this young boy is looking for a career in this entrepreneurship. And we're going to try to see if you can relate to this young boy and future entrepreneur. But before that, I just want to make sure that we have an introduction on the webinar itself. So this is not a training course. It is just a journey during an hour where we are going to reflect on what it takes to be an entrepreneur and how to be a successful entrepreneur. It is a new chapter in the Inspiring Our Life book that I'm trying to share with you every quarter. We already had 2 sessions in the last 6 months, and this is the 3rd episode of this book, and we are going to be visiting this entrepreneurship context. So welcome to the session, and here is the agenda of today. The identity card of an entrepreneur can be defined through a number of points that I use to create the agenda. So we are going to be checking if an entrepreneur is born or made, to answer or start to answer the question raised at the title. We're going to visit the mindset of an entrepreneur. We are going to look at what is an entrepreneurial context, action time, what is an action, what it needs to be to move into an action, what it is, the context of resiliency and why an entrepreneur needs to be resilient. And then, is business entrepreneurship the only option, or we have other types of entrepreneurship in this world? And maybe you belong to the other types of entrepreneurship as well. So this is the agenda, and let's move on. There is no one answer about is an entrepreneur born or made, but I will share with you my personal belief, and again, through working with different entrepreneurs and applying it to myself as well. If you use the metaphor, and we all know that, or some of you who know me know that I love metaphors. If you look at the sport, and here it is a basketball player, maybe this young man is born with the right height, the right skills to play basketball, and he's practicing basketball in the street next to his house. But does it make him naturally a future NBA player? The answer is no. How many basketball players or soccer players or whatever sport players are very good through their natural skills and natural born abilities, but they did not develop it, they did not nurture it, they did not put it in the right context. And this is also about entrepreneurship. There are natural skills like being open-minded, being intelligent, whether it is IQ or EQ, understanding people, understanding the context, having business skills, but it is not enough. It is not enough. It is very important to apply, to practice it, and to be surrounded by the right context and by the right people in order to apply those traits at the right way, in the right time. This is what makes the difference for an entrepreneur. And everyone can fall into this context if he keeps working on those skills. So the first point is a mindset. And again, any job, whether it is around entrepreneurship or any other job, you need to have the right mindset for the job. If you are a teacher, you need to have the right mindset to be able to share information. If you are an architect, if you are a doctor, you need to be serving patients. If you are an architect, you need to find the right balance between cost and beauty. And every job in the world has a mindset. And the mindset of an entrepreneur starts by asking yourself, do you have a mission in life? The mission that you do something bigger than just being a normal person doing a normal job. And this something bigger can be to do profit, to do business which brings profit to you and to others. It can be to help others, serve others, but it is to undertake. And the origin of the word entrepreneur, it's a French word, is undertake. Undertake a mission, undertake a responsibility, undertake a certain number of actions to make things happen. So the mindset of an entrepreneur is characterized through, you see the world differently. You see opportunities when others see obstacles. You see chances while others see negative crisis. And you believe in your own capacity. And again, this is something very important for an entrepreneur, that you believe in your own capacity. Of course, many other people may be encouraging you or disencouraging you. It is good to be surrounded by both types of people, because the one who will encourage you, they will push you forward, and the one who maybe will set you back will give you warnings for things that you need to adjust. But you need to believe in yourself. This is the first supporter that you need, yourself. The entrepreneurial context, what is it? The context is the need, is the opportunity, is the gap, is what will drive you to start the new business, what will drive you to start the new mission. If you look at the early companies of personal computers, they identified that there is a need to overcome the issues about servers and the dependency on the IT experts managing servers. And this is how personal computers started. And then the Apple and the Microsoft of the world started. Federal Express didn't start until someone realized that long distance courier is a nightmare. It's very expensive, it takes a long time. And then companies like Federal Express and DHL and others started. And so on and so on. Every new company will start, or a new idea will start from a need. You need to understand the need. And you need to understand if it is a new need, if something is changing and then there is a new need, or it is a long-standing problem that nobody thought about solving it in a different way. And different way is the whole thing, is that you need to find why this problem was not solved before, and you need to think differently. And you know the saying, if you try to solve the problem the way it was solved before, you will never solve it, because if it was solved, why it is still standing? So you need to look at different ways, and you need to be creative. Creativity, and by the way, we are going to have one of the future webinars will be around creativity. Creativity is to put yourself in the shoes of the user, of the customer, and you understand his need and try to make it simple. You try to make it affordable, and you try to make it distinguished for him. You try to make it something that he will, if he gets the service, it will solve the problem, and he will be distinguished compared to the others who will not get the service. It's good that you have the mindset and you understand the need and you understand the entrepreneurial context, but then what many people stop at this phase. They keep thinking, they keep analyzing, they keep talking, but they don't move into the action time. And this is what is very important, to move into an action time. Throw yourself into an action time. A friend of mine, and he's present today with us, keeps telling me, you cannot edit a white page. You need to start writing on a page some text, and then you start editing it and start having the next page and the next page. Same thing for the business. You cannot improve a company, you cannot improve an idea if you don't start the company, if you don't start the project. You need to move on. And then you need to move on, you need to be surrounded with the right people, with the right team members. And here you need to select the best one. And in some cases, even if you create the company and you have the idea, maybe you need to assign someone to be the CEO of your company, because he or she will be better than you doing the CEO job. The same thing for the other functions. You will not be the man who will do, or the woman who will do everything in the job or in the company that you created. Surround yourself with the right people, the right supporters. And as I mentioned, the supporters are not only the people who are telling you you are great and you are doing fine. Supporters will also show you things that you need to improve. And the best partners. The partners can be financial partners, and any business need to have solid business plans, and this is something very important. We're going to visit it and look at it in the resiliency aspect. And it can be a bank, it can be a company would like to invest money in your organization or in your idea. It can be suppliers, it can be technical suppliers, it can be logistics suppliers, and so forth. Partner is a partner, and you need to have the right partners. Your customers are partners. Your early customers will be your ambassadors. You need to ensure that you have the right customers with the right mindset, and you care for them so they can promote your services and talk about it for others. This is the whole thing about going into action. But then once you go to action, things will not be smooth forever. Things will not be as you anticipated. The business plan that you put it on an Excel file and you sold it to the bank or the shareholders or others, maybe will not happen on time. There will be challenges, there will be obstacles, there will be setbacks. You need to anticipate it. You need to work on agility. You need to adapt to those changes. And every single obstacle, you need to transform it into an opportunity. Failure can happen. Many startups and many companies faced failure. It is not the end of the world. Transform failure into a learning experience and moving on. Accept the failure. Again, this is part of the mindset of an entrepreneur. You need to accept that things didn't go as you wanted to go at the time that you wanted to happen. And then prepare yourself for scaling up and scaling down. You might tell me scaling down is, of course, we'll downsize, we'll have to fire people, we'll have to reduce the spendings and so on. But scaling up is also a challenge, because if you grow too fast, you might not be able to serve the customers that you signed in, especially if you are working in a new technology or a new service or a new market. You need to anticipate the growth as you anticipate the downtime, because if your credibility will be put into question, you will not be able to recover it fast enough. And when a new company, a new idea, it doesn't matter if you are in an entrepreneurship since many years, a new company is like a new baby, it needs to be protected. Yes, you need to grow. I'm not saying that you should refuse customers, but you need to anticipate this growth by having the right means in order to serve those customers in terms of suppliers, in terms of logistics, in terms of expertise, and so on. Post-sales, after sales is as important as pre-sales. It is not enough to sign the customer. It is very important to maintain and develop the customer. And as I said, the best ambassador and the best salesman for you will be a satisfied customer. So resiliency is very important to adapt in face of adversity. I love this quotation from Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Group. You do not learn by following the rules. Here we are not talking about police rules or ethics rules. By following the rules means by imitating previous entrepreneurs, previous company creators in the field where you are going in, because you will learn by starting to do new things and falling and learning and falling and learning. Take measured risks. Those measured risks can be part of the business plan. You can anticipate the problems and you can put some sort of action plan and backup plans and plan B and plan C for things that if they don't happen as you wish, but you need to take risks. If you don't take risks, maybe you will not lose, but you will not win. I can assure you this, and this is based on my personal experience and based on the experience of many companies that I work with and for. This is very important, the risk aspect and the ability to learn after falling and anticipating the next step. And again, this life school quotation is a beautiful one, if you think about it for a minute. At school, and we all went through to school, and school can be when we are young or university or any kind of school. We learn first, we attend the classes, and then we get tested at the end of the year or the end of the semester. And this is where we find out if we succeeded or not. In life, in real life, we get tested first through ups and downs, and then we learn the lesson. And then we are getting tested again, and then we learn the lesson again. But the most important is that you need to capture the learning points. If you just pass through those experiences without learning, without leveraging, whether on the business side or on the personal side, you will not be able to develop the next step. So just encourage yourself to consider every day in your life as a school and as an opportunity to learn and as an opportunity to develop and grow. Crisis management. And we are in the middle of a crisis management today with the COVID situation. but crises happen. I mean, the last few years, there was the subprime crisis, there was the September 11 post-September 11 crisis, and so on and so on. Every few years, we have a major crisis, whether it is a national or regional or worldwide, as we are going through now. In any crisis, entrepreneurs are impacted. Some are impacted positively, and we heard yesterday one of the most successful businessmen, who is the owner of Telsa. I believe I heard that his fortune was increased by $21 billion over the last few days because of the stock market and IT. Whether it is exaggerated or not, but even if it is exaggerated, there will be a number that is close to this figure, which means that there are some business people who are making this during this crisis, because the IT is one of the tools or one of the means that people are using more and more because of teleworking and because of lack of travel and. But some other businesses are impacted negatively. Look at the restaurants, look at the travel business, the airlines, the airports, and so forth. And many other businesses are impacted. So the impact is there everywhere. As an entrepreneur, you need to understand what is going on. You need to see what kind of change is happening and what your customer is expecting during this crisis and after the crisis. You always look at the after crisis phase and look at if you are going to be able to serve him now during the crisis, because you have an opportunity. Like the restaurants that you couldn't open, they now started, many restaurants, they started delivery business and making sure that they offer their best food with delivery to the housing through a certain kilometer area around the restaurant. And of course, it has to be balanced between the cost and the income and the revenue. But you also have other ideas. Constraints give birth to creativity. I heard recently, and this is someone that I called to know. I heard it in TV, then I called the person. In France, a guy where his gym business was stuck and it was closed because of the pandemic and because of the health constraints. So he decided to buy or rent a truck and transform it into a mobile gym. And he's moving from one town to another and one village to another, offering gym services, including coaching services, to the people who are living in those places. And he's making as much money as before, and in some days and some weeks, more money than before. This is an example where a constraint, his fixed gym is closed, but he transformed it, and he transformed his investment into a mobile option and continuing to make business. And he told me that he's considering to remain in this mobile business because it is much more profitable and much more dynamic compared to the fixed gym, where he was limited to a certain number of people in the population where he was based. So again, creativity there are no limits to creativity in a context where there is a crisis, because crisis brings constraints, and constraints brings ideas and opportunities. Until now, we have been talking about business entrepreneurship, creating a company, taking resources, money resources, people resources, ideas, customer needs, and bringing it all together to make a business proposal and make a profit at the end of the day from this proposal. But business entrepreneurship is not the only type of entrepreneurship that we have. We have also other types, and here I want to visit two other types. The corporate entrepreneurship, and we are going to talk about it, and the social entrepreneurship. And again, we are going to give an example around those. So I just want to tell you that not because you are not creating your own business and you are not managing people and you are not managing business and you are not taking risks, financial risks and career risks and others, that you are not an entrepreneur. You can also be an entrepreneur through the other examples. Entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is the art of transforming an organization from within. You are an employee in a company, small or big. Mainly, it would fit more on a mid-size and big-size companies. But again, if you are in a small company and you have an idea and you are not the owner, you can still influence this company. So it is not limited to the size. And you are, through this idea, you are selling a vision. You are selling a vision to your boss. You are selling a vision to your colleagues, to your customers, internal customers, external customers. And you have this intellectual leadership of moving on this idea from one phase to another, from one obstacle to another. And of course, in any company, there are some sort of what we call the politics. And some of those politics are negative and some are positive. how you understand those politics, how you can maneuver those politics, how you can move from one obstacle to another, from one opportunity to another, in order to be able to reach the destination of executing your idea. And here as I did for the last webinar, I have a guest speaker that I invited to him to answer three of my questions around how he was able, in the big organization where he is working, to transform specific means, limited means, in a sales type of job that he has, into bigger means, bigger objectives, and overachieving not only his targets, but overachieving his customer expectations and his customer needs. I am very honored and happy to welcome Dan Zuba for on stage to answer a few questions here. Dan, are you with us?
I'm here.
Hello, Dan.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. So, my friend, I would like to ask you a few questions. The first one is, you was given, as I mentioned, specific means, specific objectives, and you was able to transform those means into much bigger means and much bigger objectives and much bigger achievements. Can you tell us about how you did it?
Sure. You know, I think the base of this is really based on the understanding of the customer and the trust that relationship had been built over almost decades at a certain point in time, and taking that trustful relationship from one group into another group inside the customer, expanding our network, expanding the understanding of their business, at the same time looking for opportunities where we could align better. So the fundamental thing was just basically understanding and conversation, willing to ask questions, willing to ask for the introductions, and then taking that information back from those meetings and working it internally with other stakeholders as part of the organization to come up with something that equals, it's 1 + 1 is greater than 2. And that was really the foundation of how we started and how we moved it along.
Great, thank you, Dan. So of course, it sounds very easy, it sounds very smooth, but you faced many challenges. Not everyone adhered to your ideas, to your vision, to your objectives. What kind of challenges you faced and how did you overcome those challenges?
So yeah, you know, I think these are typical challenges when you work inside a large organization where there's this, well, we haven't done it that way before, or you know, we might have tried this before, you know, it didn't work, or is this the right time? You have those things, and those are good questions that need to be asked. So the number one thing that I think helped us is we had a very powerful and motivated value proposition that we could create with the customer, and we could engage other people inside our organization around what this vision was, right? And we could continually expand it. We could take folks who would say, well, you know, I don't know if that fits, and they would give us the time, and we could convince them in some cases. In other cases, you know, once they heard our story, it became you know, very easy to do that. But the biggest thing for me is I had the support of my management chain. All right, and I don't just mean, you know, a push on the back, but for, you know, a number of months, approaching 24+ months, you know, my management chain encouraged us to develop this idea, to work with it. They made the investments for the workshops, and they were supportive, and I can't underestimate, you know, the impact that had, both directly on the team as we were engaged in growing this with the customer, but also internally when internal folks would see the amount of people that were behind us that had bought into this, we start to build a momentum there as well.
Thank you, Dan. And then my last question will be, if you would like to share a few lessons, few tips, very practical tips out of your experience with the audience here, what would you like to say?
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons learned. I got to say the biggest one for me was, you know, at a certain point in time, you got to check your ego at the door, and you have to realize that the idea, the concept has grown bigger than you. And in order to be successful, as you pointed out in the slide, right, is, you know, you got to recognize where your strengths are and recognize the strengths of other people. And you need project managers, you need program managers, you need technical resources. You can no longer be the single point of contact for this, and so you have to put that off to the side for the sake of the program. The other thing is is the network, the network of people who are involved. You spend more time with them when you're developing this idea than you realize, and the mutual support that you offer each other as you go on this journey. You know, there's going to be the hurdles, and there's always going to be somebody that's down over the hurdle, and then it's that mutual type of thing. You know, hey, all right, let's think about this. Let's pick ourselves back up, and move forward from there. So I learned the value of having a vast network involved in the projects, because everybody's got a different point of view and their sources of strength and inspiration.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dan. So as you can see, thank you very much. So I'm coming back now to the audience. As you can see that all what Dan have applied is applicable in the business entrepreneurship when you create your own company, and is applicable when you are part of a company and you are transforming part of this company into a new way of doing business by converting others into your ideas and to your vision. All the same challenges, same skills needed, and same sometimes obstacles faced. The main difference is that when you have your own company, you are working with your own money, and maybe you don't have the salary at the end of the month if the business is not moving on. While if you are working for a company, more or less you have your salary. But of course, if this company will see that your new vision is making them lose money and you are not progressing, they will not continue giving you the support that then had. So again, the risk is still there. It is a different form, it is a different timing of the risk and different characteristic of the risk, but still you have a risk, because no company will give an entrepreneur a green card, carte blanche or white card to do whatever he or she would like to do, because maybe there will be an impact on the company. So again, there are risks and there are obstacles. And I just wanted you to relate to this if you are an entrepreneur and not an entrepreneur, business entrepreneur by having your own company. Both are needed into this world. And then we have the third example that I want to share with you here today, social entrepreneurship. And social entrepreneurship is about having a new project, it can be creating a company or creating a system to support others, usually people who are in need to this support, poor people or disabled and you are going to reach a solution, sustainable solution to address a social problem. And here I'm going to give a concrete example. Maybe some of you know this lady, this religious lady, Sœur Emmanuelle. Maybe if you're not French or Egyptian, you will maybe don't know her. And why French and Egyptian? Because she's French originally, and she spent many years in Lebanon and in Egypt and Middle East teaching French in private schools. And then when she reached the age of 60 or 59 years old for retirement, she was offered to go back to France and spend her days in a nice place in south of France, praying and spiritually focusing on her retirement. And she refused to do this, and she contacted her superior in France and asked him to have a permission to continue living in Egypt with a certain retirement money, so she's not dependent on any of the people with whom she wanted to be continuing her journey with, in order to help them. And he said, fine, but what are you going to do? And where are you going to live? And she said, I'm going to support the people who are collecting garbage in Egypt. And this category of people are one of the lowest categories in Egypt ever, socially and education-wise, health-wise, and everything. And she decided to help them. And he said, but you are not rich, how you can help them? You are 60 years old, how you can help them? And she said, I will find out. And then she identified the social problem. The social problem is that they were in a vicious circle. They were not well educated. They didn't have the good health support, so they couldn't study, and the children will start working very, very early. And what they are going to do as a job? They will collect garbage as their parents. So, and they will live in the same garbage. And this is a real picture from where they used to live. And some of them maybe are still living like this, but the good story will continue. And I will tell you what kind of transformation she did. So the first thing she said, let's build some schools. Let's build some real housing, because they were living with the garbage in very, very fragile type of place to live, and some clinics or hospitals, small hospitals or small clinics. And one of the challenges that she had is to the machines, the medical machines. She had to import some of those machines, and she convinced a French company to give one or two of those machines, X-ray and dentist machines, as a gift. but she found out that she had to pay tax to the Egyptian authorities. So she went to the minister and she said, can you exempt me from the tax, because this is for the poor people? And the minister in charge, or the guy responsible for the tax authority, said, no, if you are going to ask them to pay even 1 cent as an entry, you have to pay tax. So she convinced the engineer, the French engineer from this company, to dismantle the machine and asked many of the tourists, French tourists going to Egypt, to take the pieces of those machines, piece by piece, for 6-9 months, over a year. And then after the year, the engineer will come to Egypt and will assemble the medical machine. And then what she did not stop there. She made a celebration for the inauguration of the clinic. She invited the minister and she invited the head of this tax authority. And she declared in front of the news, the reporter and the news representatives, that she was exempted from tax. So she was intelligent enough to make it public, so nobody can come back later and ask her for tax. And she somehow forced those people, those authority and the minister and others, to accept in the future to give exemptions for tax for the future clinics and future machines. And she installed like this a system and a business, sustainable business, because schools and health and housing help those people to start thinking about how they can better sell the garbage, how they can better make money and then sustain themselves, so they are not dependent on donations. And they started to build some sort of a sustainable system that now we have many engineers, doctors and others coming out of this society, and they are living in a much decent life that she found. And she did something similar in Sudan, in south of Sudan, after the war there and so forth. She is now in a better world, and she died at the age of 96 years old. And she continued supporting this. She came back to retirement at the age of 86 or 87. So you can see from 60 to 87 for 26 years, she never stopped. And she was an entrepreneur because she understood the society, she understood the business model, she understood the politics, and she transformed all of this into a sustainable solution. Again, this is an example of an entrepreneur. Yes, she did not make money for herself, but she made money, or made system for others to benefit from it. And if you can do something like this in a business mind, you will be able to help many others. So this is another example of what I would like to invite you to reflect on it. The key takeaways. Before I show you the slide, I would like you to look at it to reflect a little bit on what you heard so far from Dan and myself. It is about people. Business, you will not sell business to machines, buy machines. Maybe you'll use machines, but you will sell it to people. So it is all about people. Think about people. Think about their needs. Think about them as part of your team. They are part of your consultants, part of your supporters. It is all about people. Think about the people needs. Think about what is going on around the people and the changes happening. Look at the world in a realistic manner. If you are an entrepreneur, even Sir Emmanuel had to think in a very realistic manner. No rosy ideas. She had to have a business plan. Same thing for Dan in his entrepreneurship. Same thing for all the big companies and the small companies who created new ideas and supported new ideas in terms of IT or career or hotels or food or this is all about making sure that you have a business plan that is sustainable and realistic, and always try to find out the next trend. The very important is the next trend. Don't look backward, look at the future, look at what is going on. If you would like to start your business now and look at what will happen after the COVID, what will be the new world after the COVID? Are we going to live the same way? Are we going to work the same way? Are we going to travel the same way? Are we going to communicate the same way? Are we going to consume services the same way? And maybe you will find the idea that will help you to be an entrepreneur. So what I want to leave you with: focus on the needs, realistic business plan, anticipate the next trend, consult. This is very important. Consult, listen to others. When I started this business of consulting and coaching, I surrounded myself with a number of supporters. A number of them are attending this webinar today, and I keep consulting them. I consult them for a direction, I consult them for ideas. It doesn't mean that I take all their ideas by heart, but I compare ideas, I check, and I see where I will be able to go. And then sometimes I fail. Sometimes I fail adapting those ideas into my real world, or I pick the wrong idea, or I don't listen to them and I keep my own ideas to myself. And then I found out that I did not follow the right path. Consulting is very important. Best people for the right roles, as Dan mentioned. Put the ego aside and surround yourself with the right people, even if they are stronger than you. And then if you have your own company, select the right people in your company, even if they take higher roles than you, if you want the company to move on. You should not be the center of the world, as long as the whole thing will be moving smoothly and efficiently forward. And transform failures into learning. This is very important. If you keep closing your eyes to failures by saying, no, we did not fail, everything is good, and you change the numbers and you change the KPIs so things can look good, you are missing the opportunity to learn. Try to always accept failure when it happens, celebrate successes when it happens, and try to find the balance between the two. This is very important. Coming back to the first title, is entrepreneur born or made? I believe that I try my best, humbly best, to show you that there is no one answer. You can be born with a certain traits, and this young boy, maybe he's starting his life looking at bar charts and pie charts and others. But no matter how you start your life and with which skills you was born with and which natural traits that you are having, it all depends on how you use it. It all depends on how you make something out of your life that is worth being happy about, being proud about, by being useful for yourself, useful for others, and useful for the society where you are working. And again, making a profitable business is part of this use, because once you have a business that makes profit, you can innovate in it, you can develop it, and you can help more people and more customers and needs. And I will leave you with this quotation that is very dear to my heart. Man often becomes what he believes himself to be. Mahatma Gandhi. You will become what you believe yourself to be. If you are believing that you can do something big out of your life, no matter what you are doing, if you are an employee or you are self-employed, if you are convinced that you can help others, you will become what you believe in. If you set back yourself and you are not believing in your capacities, you will become what you will be setting yourself back to. But always think big, always think that you are capable of doing what your destiny is meant to and what your vision is meant to. So please give yourself the opportunity to live your life as an entrepreneur. This is just my contact details. If you don't know it yet, my website, the email address, and some of the posts that I started to post on Instagram and Facebook starting from 1st of January. Every week, there are 1 or 2 posts that give you some hints about some reflections related to how you inspire your life, whether in the human dimension or in the business dimension, because they're both related. If you are good at your personal level, you are going to be good in your business and efficient in your role in the society. Thank you very much for listening to Dan and myself into this short introduction. And now we have 20 minutes for question and answers. And this is, as far as I'm concerned, the best part of the webinar, when I hear your feedbacks, your questions, and I will be very happy to answer those.
Thank you very much, Amr, as usual, for such an interesting topic. So we start the Q&A session right away. Remember that you can type your questions on the chat. And we have a few questions so far. The first one is from Martin Ram. How many business plans have you made and acted upon?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Ali?
Yeah.
Sorry for this.
How many business plans have you made and acted upon?
The number is large, Martin. I would say along 30 years, I would say more than 25, 30 business plans in different contexts. And again, under each one of those 30 business plans, there are tens and tens of versions of it. But in terms of business plans, whether it is for companies what I worked in or customers that I helped in, I would say 30 business plans and business challenges that I had to face in order to transform, whether create a new business or transform a business that is not moving well.
And another question from Martin is, why did you give this webinar?
This is, thank you again for this question. This is part of a series of webinars. Every quarter, I committed myself to offer those free public webinars to share with you and through the recording of those webinars with others, some of the insights that I collected along the years, and open the door for specific deep dive sessions, which can be training, can be workshops, can be brainstorm sessions for others who would like to go deeper into those questions and those subjects. So it is part of a program called Inspiring Our Life that I hope I will be able to develop it and maintain it for a number of years.
Thank you. So we have another question from Manish. I believe that for an entrepreneur, one of the most critical factors is having the proper mindset to make things happen and let go of things which do not matter. Your views?
Of course, it is a matter of prioritization. You need to find out how you want to spend your life and where you would spend the time. Life is short. Life is very short, especially when you start to get to be aware about your constraints and your capabilities and about the opportunities. So you need to be very selective. You cannot waste your time and energy in things that will not lead to anything. And you need to know the right time to enter a new project, new business, and you need to know the right time to go out of this new project or the new business because it's not leading anywhere. So timing is very important. Awareness is very important. And again, this is the role of an entrepreneur, the courageous entrepreneur. And I talked about courage and taking risks, measured risks. It's very important that you have the courage to say it will not lead to anywhere. So I have to stop it and I will start a new business. Or this business maybe is not giving results now, but I would like to maintain it and pursue it because it will give results in 1 year from 2 years. This is what I call measured risks. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. A comment and question from Antonio Lima. Thank you for the great ideas. One short question, presented equal conditions. What is the best line of action? Fail fast or prepare well?
Thank you, Antonio. First of all, the two extremes are bad. If you prepare well means that you're going to wait for years and years and years until the ideal timing to enter the business. Because while you are preparing well along those years, this idea is already taken by someone else and other people, and the market share is already eaten. And if you fail fast by throwing yourself into the arena and start doing the business without a certain level of preparation, you will fail, but you will not learn because you did not prepare. And so you don't know what went well and what didn't go well. So you need the balance between preparing well and entering into the dancing floor and failing and learning and failing and learning. The balance is very important.
Thank you. We have a question from Pedro Cipriano. Any tips on how to keep us true to our set objectives and not to get lost on the daily challenges and attributions?
Excellent question, Pedro. This is the challenge for everyone, whether you are working for a company or you are working for your own company, entrepreneur, this is the question, this is the challenge for everyone. You need to have a purpose. You remember in the previous webinars I discussed and I presented your life purpose, and here your business purpose or your entrepreneurship purpose. What is your main purpose and why you are doing what you are doing? And once you identify the purpose, you identify the main actions that are on the critical path to achieve this purpose. And all the other actions that will deviate you from it, you need to put it aside. Any kind of, I will make this presentation to make sure that the other stakeholders understand what I'm doing. Is it critical? Is it in the critical path, or it is a nice to have? If it is a nice to have, put it aside. Focus on your purpose, focus on your objectives, have clear KPIs. And you know, Pedro, and many of you know about what I'm going to say. If you cannot measure an objective, the objective is not, either it is not correctly defined or it is not meaningful. Every objective you give yourself or you give your team members has to be measured, has to have the ability to be measured. A key performance indicator, KPI, is something that we apply it in business and we apply it in our life. You have to measure your progress. And then this will help you setting your priorities and avoiding being deviated your attention to unnecessary paths and actions. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. We have probably a common question from Esther Sananau and Renato Ferreira. I'm going to read both. How to overcome an environment, laws, taxes, banks who don't take risks, that is not encouraging for new ideas and projects. And Renato has a similar question. One of the great roadblockings for entrepreneurs is the uncertainty coming from the local government, rules, and market changes. What is your advice to be prepared for them?
Thank you. So there are a number of elements to answer the two questions, and you're right, Ali, that the two questions converge at a certain time. You need first to be able to sell your ideas, as it was mentioned in the case of entrepreneurship, also in the case of business entrepreneurship. In order to convince a stakeholder or a bank or an investor to put money in your business, you need to be able to sell him not only an idea, not only a business plan, but a vision. And you need to put your neck on the table. You need to show him that you have credibility. You need to be able to put the right means in front of him to show that you are surrounded by the right people, you have the right expertise, and you have the right vision for the market. And you will be able to find the right partners. Again, yes, there are many people and many stakeholders and many investors as we speak today, because of the COVID, do not want to risk their money. But there are risk takers, and you need to find those risk takers. And this is why I keep saying, and it was mentioned by Dan mentioned it in the context of entrepreneurship, and I'm mentioning it in the case of business entrepreneurship. You need to have the right network, the right supporters, the people who will believe in you, and then they will sell your idea on your behalf to the people who have the money. This is very important, this network and different layers of the network, to be able to have the right team surrounding you and overcome the situation. And the ones who will be able to get the money those days will make the difference, because I agree with you, Estelle, it is very hard to access capitals now. So if you have a good idea and you are able to access capital, you will have a step forward compared to your competitors, because they will have the difficulty if they don't convince their stakeholders. Then about the governments and the rules is changing. Again, this is part of the analysis that you keep doing about what is going on. I mean, after the World War II, nobody thought that Japan and Germany will be able to succeed and grow. Look at what happened to them in the war and the devastation that happened to them. And in terms of car industry and IT industry, we can see how Japan and Germany, among others, are doing great since then. So if we look at time T, yes, maybe we can see that the governments will be more strict and they will change the rules, but always try to anticipate the next step, the next move, the next trend. They will be opening of the market, because we cannot continue in the face of, as we speak today. Every crisis was followed by better times, but prepare yourself for the better times. And I would like to share with all of you something here, is that I was talking with an entrepreneur who created many companies in France, in Egypt, in Lebanon, in Africa. He is a serial entrepreneur, I would say. He created maybe 6 or 7 companies in his life. And I worked with him for 3 years. He worked in IT, worked in travel business, airline business, and so forth. And he comes from Lebanon. And he gave me one of the best advices that I had. He said, in Lebanon, when we were having the war, many people went into depression, into drug, into at least closing themselves from understanding what is going on. But the few ones who kept watching what is happening in the market, what's happening with the government, what's happening with the new rules and rules that are changing, were ready at the time when the war stopped and the money started to come and the investors started to put money in Lebanon, and they were ready and they took the train at the right station. Never give up. Always keep analyzing. Don't take the picture of time T as the picture that will be in 5 years from now. Between now and 5 years, many phases will have to go through. But if you close yourself, you will not seize the opportunities that will happen during those 5 years. I hope I answered the question.
Very good. We have a question from Paulo Orio. How to overcome a failed project without having a natural fear to start a new one? How to motivate yourself?
Thank you, Paulo. It is like a car accident. It happens to all of us. As soon as you have the accident, you feel that you will never drive the car again. And you try to avoid driving any cars. And you take the excuse of the car is in repair. And then you leave it. You don't even go and get it from the garage. You don't want to have another accident. The best thing, and it happened to me in terms of car accident, I had a car accident when I was in my 20s, and my father gave me the best advice. He said, Amr, go and fix it today. And I said, oh, but I just had the accident an hour ago. He said, go to the garage today and fix it. And as soon as it is ready, you drive it. Because mentally, you need to overcome the accident issue. And same thing for the business. If you anticipate failure, And not meaning that you have to tell yourself, I will fail, I will fail. No, it is not about telling yourself this, but say, if I fail, this what will happen. If I don't fail, this what will happen. Plan A is this, but plan B and plan C and plan D are those. And if you anticipate all of this, you will consider that failure is like when it rains. It rains, but then there will be sunshine. So it is part of the day, part of the season, part of the year. You have to accept it, and mentally you say, what did I learn from this failure? And you get yourself with your team, Paulo, whether it is your team with whom you are working, people reporting to you, but also the other supporters, the other stakeholders, and find out why it failed. And confront yourself to failures. If the numbers were not achieved, why the numbers were not achieved. If the customer did not buy, why the customer. Face yourself in this. Don't ignore the facts that led to, and immediately, very fast, move to the new project, move to the new step. Because any time that you will use or you'll spend setting back yourself, it will be some sort of waste of time, because you're not learning and you're not putting into practice what you learned from the failure. And again, Paulo, I went through many failures in my life, and what I share with you here is based on my personal experience. I can tell you this. Not only the car accident, but even business failures.
Question from Sumit. What are your views on bringing angel investor and liquidity of equity in a business? How risky it could be?
Thank you, Sumit. There is no one answer to this question, my friend. Because if the business angel is only interested in terms of money and only money, and he doesn't care about your business, and you are still fragile and your business is small, I will not recommend it. Because if he is only expecting money and return on investment, he will never think and sit with you to understand the context of your business, the challenges that you are facing, and if there are obstacles and there are delays in achieving your business plan. So in this case, if you are starting a new company and is still fragile, is still a baby, find investors who can understand your business, who adhere to your vision, and they would like to go beyond only putting money in it. Even if their role is only to putting money, but they will understand what it takes to make things happen. Select your investors and business angels as you will select your partners, as you will select your team members, and as you will select your customers. Because again, it applies also about your customers. If you accept any contract to sell your services to any customer, maybe this customer will make you spend more money than what he's going to pay you. So it is very important to find at the beginning the right investors and the right customers and the right team members. And of course, you might say, Amr, I don't have the luxury. We are starting, if no other investors, and you tell me select and only, and this one is only interested about money, should I take him or not? If you ask me this question, I will say maybe it is better not to take him now, because a bad choice can cost you more money than what he or she is putting on the table at time T. Again, it is a very deep question. I answered only in 30 seconds, but of course we need to understand the business context. We need to understand who is offering what, when, what are their expectations, what is their return on investment expectations, and then we can find the right answers to this question, because different businesses and different times will put different characteristics to the decision for this question. I hope I answered.
Thank you, Amr. Comment from Esther. I appreciate that you see the entrepreneur as someone who is actually serving the customer. The user has impact on society, and not only as someone who wants to make money and take the lead in a given field. However, this value of service is not necessarily what is taught in business schools or what is valued by stakeholders. I hope you will have another webinar about entrepreneurship in relation with ethical leadership. Looking forward to your next presentation.
Thank you, Esther. You mentioned the business schools. Yes, until now, most of the business schools do not teach the balance between making money and making an impact on the society. But until now, but it is starting to grow and grow and grow, because it is now understood, and the COVID situation is teaching us that we cannot continue thinking in a small circle. When there is a disease somewhere in the world, it is impacting the whole world. When there is a social issue in one part of the country or one part of the world, is impacting the whole world. If China or North America are impacted by business problems, social problems happen in South Africa. We are all linked. So now the maturity is teaching or reaching a level where we have to take into consideration the balance between only profit and only social matters. We need to bring the two together, and we are saying successful entrepreneurs who are making money can make an impact on the society, can make an impact on where they are living, if they have the balance between the two. And we need to teach the young generations around those kind of two aspects. I was honored to be invited last week into a student-led forum organized by a number of universities in the UK. And I emphasized a little bit on this point. I was given only 10 minutes, so it was not enough. But they need to understand that profit is not the only aim for entrepreneurship. It has many dimensions. And what you mentioned, Esther, is reflected this kind of importance. Thank you for raising the question.
And we have a final question from Sumit. How much time a startup should take to nourish to determine success or failure?
It depends on the business plan. It depends on the investments, not only the money, but the time investments of the partners and the creator of the startup. If they are doing it full time with a clear opportunities in the market today and they can move on, the time can be, they will find out if it is the right answer to a need or not. Maybe it is counted by month, maybe 1 or 2 years. But if they are doing it part-time, in addition to other jobs, in addition to other occupations, the money is not there, they are waiting for an opportunity, they are waiting for this, they will not find out the answer before a few years, because their attention is divided between this and this and this and this. So again, there is no one answer to this question. Otherwise, the whole world will say, okay, Amr said it is going to take 1 year. 1 year and 1 month will kill the company. No, there are many factors that need to be taken into consideration. But what I would say, if you are creating a new company and a startup and you are putting lots of energy in it, go to the end of your story. Don't stop it in the middle. Don't have regrets. Try to put all your means, all your ideas into execution. As I mentioned, the action time. Don't hold back. Don't put things into your pocket. It is like in sport, basketball or soccer or this, they will say, we are not going to put all the energy now because maybe there will be extra time. But maybe they will lose the match before the extra time and they got the bad score at the end of the time of the match. So there is no extra time. So they saved energy for nothing. Always try to find the right balance, but give it all based on your initial business plan, based on your initial strategy. And then if it is not working, then yes, maybe it is considered to be a failure, but it is a learning experience. So again, the answer is, in terms of time, is very difficult to give you a summit, because it depends on the size of the company, depends on the market that you are taking, and the sustainability of the customers. As I said, maybe you can take a company after a year, it is doing great, but year after and 3 months, the company failed, because those 3 months was the moment of truth that the company was not able to serve the customers that they signed. So it is time is very variant element here.
Thank you, Amr. And that was our final question.
Thank you very much, everyone. I am, as I said, very honored to be standing in front of you here, sharing with you my humble ideas, my humble insights. Again, part of what I shared with you is based on readings, based on interacting with entrepreneurs, and based on my own experience. So it is a mix of the three. I hope it was useful. I hope this journey opened your door for new reflections about where you fit in the entrepreneurship context. As mentioned by Ali, this session is going to be recorded and is going to be available on the website, and we'll send you all a notification about it. Feel free to consult it again, and feel free to let me know your comments and your suggestions for the next sessions. Thank you very much, and wish you the very best, and especially best of health. Thank you very much.